With that, I'm Matthew Hayek. I've devoted years to researching and quantifying the connections between land, food systems, and climate change. And as many of you know in this room, stopping climate change means stopping burning and drilling and burning off of fossil fuels. But it also means pulling out billions of tons of carbon out of the atmosphere by regrowing hundreds of billions of trees over millions of square miles of land. The question I want to pose to you is, where will we find all of the land we need to perform this vital ecosystem service? First, it's important to look at agriculture. Agriculture occupies over 1/3 of Earth's surface. That's more than half of all habitable land on Earth. If we want to try to find a little bit of spare land, this is the first place to look. Meanwhile, all of cities, suburbs, and human settlements combined amount to 1% of the Earth's surface. Here on this map, green areas are cropland, where we grow all crops. That includes crops we eat and crops that we grow to feed to farmed animals. And in brown are pastures, where we let farmed animals graze for forages and grass, including grass. Altogether, 80% of this land is devoted to animal agriculture. So to shrink this footprint, we must do two things: raise food more efficiently per acre and shrink the total amount of acres that we're using to support our food system by, I hate to say it, eating a bit less meat. There's an interesting lesson from the US Northeast, and that lesson has passed us in all of our generations and even our parents' and grandparents' generations. Because in the 1800s, the vast majority of land in the US Northeast supported animal agriculture. By the late 1800s, Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, and Connecticut had less than 30% of their forest cover remaining. Almost all of that was cleared for extensive production for dairy, sheep, and their hay. But then agriculture got more efficient and moved out west, and there were railroads connecting that fertile production to farmland, to cities in the east. Mass production in the Northeast no longer made economic sense, so these pastures were abandoned and forest grew back. Today, more than 75% of the Northeast is forested, and to get there, no one actually planted a single tree. Now we need more than 1 trillion trees to meet our climate goals, and that's obviously more than anyone can plant, even if the whole world got behind a massive tree planting initiative. Besides, where would we put them? However, there's good news. In my role as a scientist who measures the interactions between ecosystems and the atmosphere, I've seen forest recovery firsthand from New England to the Amazon rainforest. By using models, measurements, and remote sensing from satellites, my research has identified more than 3.7 million square miles, that's greater than the contiguous lower 48 of the United States, that is currently being kept cleared for pastures and cropland, supporting animal feed and livestock. And that area is in excess of what we would need to eat lower on the food chain and eat more plants directly. This is all area where lush forest could currently be grown back, so not deserts, but humid climates that could support forests. This land area is what I refer to as the carbon opportunity cost of animal agriculture. The darkest green areas represent the densest areas that would be growing back if we scaled back. And it's not only in the tropics, but in temperate climates, including the eastern US and Europe. Furthermore, my research has identified hotspot areas that are growing the least amount of food and feed, but where we could be getting the most carbon in return, in regrowing forest in return if we were to scale back on those lands. But where's the proof that this could actually work? Well, fortunately, these areas don't just live in my computer models. They're borne out in pilot projects in every hemisphere, from Scotland to New Zealand, that show the amazing benefits of getting human and their livestock out of the way and keeping them out of their way to let nature do the work of regrowing itself. And this, by the way, is despite depleted seed banks and pernicious invasive species persistent. So the questions are, how do we multiply the land that we're dedicating to this ecological transition? And how do we do it in a way that promotes livelihood and leads to economic flourishing? Here are a few suggestions, because I have to get off soon. I hope that you can take a picture. Governments have a role to play by funding producer buyouts from animal agriculture for nature restoration on spared land, And also, there's a vital role of promoting plant-based consumption and creating value-added plant-based supply chains. Finance has a role to play by connecting landowners to carbon markets and prioritizing projects that emphasize native restoration of biodiverse trees. Businesses have a role to play as well by reducing meat and dairy in their supply chains and promoting and funding healthy alternatives, the last one of which includes an initiative with the Culinary Institute of America that I'm a part of that connects businesses with academia. Altogether, we know where we can get the land that we need. Reducing excess meat consumption has benefits for our health, ecosystem, and our wallets. We now need visionaries to help align these incentives and free up millions of square miles of land for nature to do what it does best, flourish. Thank you.